You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
How's it going?
We're basically in full lockdown mode. The kids are, as you and I speak, they are planted firmly in front of a TV, watching Paddington Bear while they eat frozen waffles.
Oh, man, these kids got to love the quarantine, huh?
Oh, my gosh. I'll tell you.
That's awesome.
You know, when I first brought my daughter home from school, she said, Daddy, she said, I thought that maybe when you picked me up today, it was because you had a doctor's appointment for me that you forgot about. But no, it's better than that. It's way better. It's coronavirus.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm glad you have a good attitude, but this isn't something to mess around with.
The innocence of youth. Hey, we get to watch Paddington Bear and eat waffles. Go, coronavirus, go.
I know. Hey, your wife probably has a claim suing you for making out with John. That's a separate issue, Ross.
Hey,
we can get into that later.
It's supposed to be on my side. You're my lawyer, dude.
I'm swell.
We got a bunch of questions. Hey, real quick on a sidebar, too, because we had a freak news story. Are you familiar with the Forrest Finn treasure? He's that billionaire that hid like $2 million allegedly somewhere in the woods and then put clues in his autobiography, and then people have died looking for this thing?
I've never heard about that.
Never heard about that? The
Forrest Finn?
His name's Forrest Finn, yeah. Read up on that sometime. And the fourth guy to die trying to find that his treasure came from Colorado just a couple of days ago. They announced he's dead. If someone came and said, I lost my husband and he was trying to find this billionaire treasure, is that something you would... Because whose fault is that? I mean, if you're jackass enough to go dig into the woods... But then he's encouraging you. Now, that guy's since dead, but I'm sure he's got a huge estate, right?
Oh, he might. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I don't know what he put in there and somehow incentivize people to do this. That is a tough one.
Well, allegedly it's like gold. It's gold and jewels and a bunch of other stuff in there. Gemstones and again, worth like $2 million somewhere. And they don't know where. That's been in New Mexico from people who thought the clues led there. This latest was in the Dinosaur National Park here in Colorado, but...
How am I not look, I love stories like I ache for the people who died. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about.
But it's fascinating. It is. And it's been going on for years because he was alive for about 6 years after the book. And then everyone thought maybe you give more clues and he passed away. So it's very fascinating. You know what?
Man, I grew up on, the Jewel of the Nile and the, Indiana Jones.
Right. It's exactly. And I think it was all just an attempt for this guy to sell more books. And make himself feel better about himself.
God, he's laughing from beyond the grave.
So read up. We'll talk about maybe this next month if we're still on social distancing and we have to do this via the phone. Yes, Forrest Finn, Fenn, and anyone else who's never read up on the story, it is an amazing one.
Ross, in a month, I might be out there social distancing myself with some explorer's guide with trying to find this treasure.
Ross and Dave explore for treasure. I think that's a great TV show. If anyone wants to pick that up.
Oh, this is awesome.
Now, let's get into, before we get like Jennifer's question and Citizen Steve in regards to helping out his tenants, I thought this was a fascinating question. Can you sue if someone gives you the coronavirus? You work with someone, they know they're sick, they know they got it. I got to come to work. They get other people sick. What happens?
Oh, well, okay. So a couple different things.
Yeah.
And that is actually a pretty common concern people have. And the law has dealt with this in a very similar fashion for years with STDs. Venereal disease.
Right. I read up on, because I remember stories of people being sued for knowingly giving the AIDS virus.
That's the one. That's the big one.
And I read up on that, and that was a thing.
No, it's the thing. It's not just in the United States. I mean, it's all over the world. They have legislation. Various countries have legislation aimed at prosecuting, the criminal statutes that will criminalize intentionally, or recklessly giving somebody, either transmitting it or exposing somebody to HIV, because they typically draw a distinction between, as far as the severity of the penalty, between something that is incurable, typically like HIV or some types of, some herpes and other types of conditions.
Gifts that keep on giving forever and ever.
Exactly. Yeah, gift wrapped and put a bow on it. And, so when you've got something criminalized like that, then there typically will follow civil liability, too. Again, this is in the STD context, where in some states you're able to actually, sue somebody for what typically is battery versus, a negligence claim. Battery is an intentional claim. Like, that person, they knew they had it, and they intentionally did something to make sure you got it. So you almost have to look at the same kind of analysis when it comes to something like coronavirus or some other infectious disease. And a couple of things, because the coronavirus is going to be a little different because they've got a carve out here if you're exposed to it at work. And so, and I don't have that question in front of me, but let's talk in a broader context. Somebody intentionally gives you coronavirus. Well, it is so tough. An STD is easier to pinpoint where you got it.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a person-to-person contact.
Exactly. Unless you've got 1,000 person-to-person contacts in a week.
Hey, now, that was in college, said Dave. I'm a much better man. I've reeled it back, right? Dave. I've reeled it way back.
That's right. With something like a coronavirus, or the flu, it is really difficult to pinpoint, where you got it. And so it makes a claim like that really difficult. And also, if somebody intentionally gave it to you, you have to look at how you're actually going to collect money. People ask this question all the time: can I sue? Yeah, you might be able to sue. What is the practical implication of a suit? Where are you going to? Why are you suing? Are you going to try to get money for your recovery, for your medical bills, and for any permanent problems? Well, does that person have a lot of money themselves? Because insurance typically won't cover something in an intentional context. So if somebody intended to do something to you, insurance isn't going to cover it. So you have to look at whether they have assets, and it gets kind of tricky.
So basically, yes, you can sue. Will you get any money? Man, maybe not.
Not.
Now, more so, you said that with the AIDS virus, they had to set up legislation to make that a punishable offense. Would they then have to set up legislation first to make spreading the coronavirus also an offense?
No, because I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's just so hard to pinpoint where it came from. But really quickly, let me say two things. One, the AIDS virus, there's been pushback on that legislation over the last 5 or 6 years, because of the discriminatory nature of that too. I mean, in the sense that it's kind of discriminating against people who have HIV, and so there's been, I don't think it's changed the law necessarily in some areas, but it has in certain countries. But going back to the coronavirus question, if you get coronavirus at work, this is the carve out. And as I understand it, that health law that Colorado passed.
Oh, you still there, Dan?
Claim.
I'm sorry, we lost you just for a second there.
Oh, sorry. If you get coronavirus at work, it's my understanding you can file a workers' compensation claim for that.
Okay.
And so, whether somebody intentionally exposed you to it or not, I mean, if you got it while in the course and scope of the work that you were doing, and that does not mean to imply that you got it at home and then brought it, and then you kind of developed it at the same time that you were still on the job. It's if you were exposed to it
at work. Interesting. Very interesting. And that actually might be a thing, and that's probably why some businesses have officially pulled the plug or kicked everyone out of the office, like our man John Michaels.
Yeah, you look at it from a business perspective, because we own a business. We have 5 offices around Colorado, and we were very proactive about this. A week ago, we shut everything down, and we sent everybody home to protect our team members from exposure, whether from the people who come inside our building, or not. We want to make sure we try to protect our team members. And you've got people with different incentives to do that. Sometimes they've been incentivized by the strong arm of the law here by the government saying you just can't go into work. I mean, you must shut. Colorado's been a little bit more liberal with that. The governor issued an order requiring that those businesses that were not already designated as you must shut down businesses, like gyms, theaters, places of communal gathering. You got it down to 50%. You've got to have only 50% of the people you might normally have inside your facility can show up. Other states are, they're locking things down more dramatically, and there's an argument for that. I mean, we've got to stop the spread of this, but It's difficult because you've got to weigh so many equities here.
No, everything has changed so much now. Talking to you more, it's like, man, just the legal ramifications of this thing is also going to have echoes here through the future for sure, huh?
It will, Ross. It will.
Interesting.
And that's the thing. We oh my gosh, it is. I miss. I miss January, and January wasn't even that great.
Right, January sucked too. And it's like, I long for that. I almost said the S-bomb. I long for that crappy month.
I know.
It's funny. All right. Our guest is
go to Target or Walmart and find just like normal stuff.
One of our advertisers had mentioned, he said, I can't believe we've come to a world where I can get as much weed as I want, but I can't find a roll of toilet paper. Strange days. Dave McDivitt, our guest. We do this once a month, Law Frog action with he and, of course, he and his father with McDivitt Law Firm. We'll pick things up next. We got Steve. He wants to know, he wants to give his tenants a few months off of rent with everything going on. His wife says they need to come up with a contract so they don't get screwed. Is that something that he needs? And then what else? Jennifer has problems also with the landlord. I told you when we were talking about getting this segment back, you're asking, what kind of questions you get? I was like, a lot of deadbeat dads and a lot of landlord problems. Those are like very common for everyone in the Kilo Nation. Yeah. So Jennifer has a problem. They're trying to keep her deposit. She claims the dogs that they're trying to keep the deposit because of her service dogs. It's interesting. So we'll pick up their conversation next. Anything we can do for you if you need some legal help, we'll dedicate some quality time on the phones as well at 633-KILO. Dave, go get me one of those frozen waffles, and we'll be back in a minute, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, that's it. It's the Law Frog segment. It's legal advice here on the Kilo Morning Show.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
Real quick, though, let's take care of the last two email questions. That, by the way, you can do anytime. There's a McDivitt link on our website at kilo943.com. You can pop a question over anytime you want, and we'll conquer those for sure. Let's see. Let's go with the other kind of coronavirus-tied question here. Citizen Steve has someone who rents a home from him. He wants to give him a couple months off due to the fact that of course, everything's in limbo right now. He says it's easy. Just tell him, hey, you guys are cool. We'll pick it up in a couple months. But his wife thinks they need a contract so they don't get screwed. Women are so untrusting, huh?
Are you speaking from experience here, or this is just what you read in a book?
I just read it in a book, yeah.
Hey, look, I have to say, before we get to Citizen Steve here, I've got some pushback from people in my office who are listening right now. When I said that we are closed, what I meant is our physical offices are shut down so people aren't coming in and out. The McDivitt Law Firm is fully operational, like the Death Star. We are a fully operational enterprise right now. We're just working remotely. All the attorneys, all the legal staff, we've got a whole very sophisticated infrastructure to allow for remote work. So just want people to know we're taking calls.
Right, because people still need legal advice.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
maybe even now more than ever before.
That's right.
Oh, that was dramatic.
Oh, I can get my dramatic here. So
what do you think?
This landlord is wonderful.
That's cool, right?
Yeah,
but then
it's great.
It's so funny, though, in the world we live in, even someone trying to do a good act, it's like, because there is that old saying, nice guys finish last. Unfortunately, that comes true a lot of times, man. People try to do the right thing, and wind up getting screwed over it. And then this, I can see potential, like with the squatter rights and all that stuff. I don't know how it all works, but I know people who own properties often get hosed.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. The nice guys don't always finish last. You just got to be smart about how you're being nice. And I putting a contract together always makes sense. It always makes sense. And it doesn't have to be super sophisticated. It does not have to be super long. It could just be a little addendum to the existing rental agreement. I'm assuming these are residential, but I mean, even if they're commercial too, just something in place, an email back and forth where it explains, this is going to be for 3 months. I don't know the terms of their original contract. I mean, I hope the agreement originally was in writing too, because that just always helps. You want to assume people are going to do the right thing, and after 3 months they will resume payment. And I don't know if Steve has it baked in that they will then slowly reimburse him for those 3 months missed. It's great if, that's wonderful that if he's just giving them 3 free months. But he needs to make sure that that's clear. And in a quick contract, I think in a situation like this, they could probably, I always like to say probably, get by with maybe email back and forth with a.
So just something, just say, hey, I'm extending your lease by 3 months. These next 3 months will not be a charge to you. You will resume full payment on this month, and that would probably cover it then.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to put you on the payroll. This is great, Ross.
Hey, man, I got good verbiage. I got a degree from Pikes Peak Community College, David.
I love that.
I could be your probably only Pikes Peak Community College employee.
Oh, no. Well, we have plenty. We have
really?
a lot of great. Oh, my gosh. We have some fantastic team members with degrees from there.
Go PPCC.
That's right, and some of the best views in the state.
Right.
That southern campus, when you look out over Cheyenne Mountain, that's beautiful.
Man, that gave me the start on the radio, that's for sure. Well, that's cool. All right, well, tell you what. Jennifer's question is a little bit long. It involves her landlord trying to keep a deposit, and it's because of dogs and a cat, but she's got them as trained service animals. Dun, dun, dun. But I'll tell you what, it's already 8:30, so we'll take a minute, and then we'll be back with her question. Then we're going to have room for like maybe one or two other questions if you need some help from David. The rock lines are open now for you at 633-KILO. You got a few more moments to kill with us, Dave? Is that cool?
Absolutely. I'm not going anywhere, Rob.
More with Dave McDivitt. That's right. He's home hanging out watching, Paddington Bear and eating waffles. He's going to be with us for a while. Let's just do this all day.
That's right.
We'll pick it up next.
PJs.
The Law Frog in the house here on the Kilo Morning Show.
You're listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM. Presented by McDivitt Law Firm.
94.3 Kilo. That's Five Finger Death Punch. Oh, man. I got lost in the music there, David. I almost forgot to call you back. It's weird having to call guests here in this, social distancing in 2000 and weird, huh?
And look, if I had a nickel for every time somebody almost forgot to call me back, I'd also be rich.
Well, thanks again for your time here. It's the Law Frog. Dave McDivitt joins us once a month, and hopefully by next month we'll be back to somewhat of normalcy, and you'll be back in studio. If not, it sounded great, man. You're doing a great job today. It's worked out better. I was like, I'm always bummed when I do stuff via phone because you never know, you got bad connections, but it's sounding good, man. It's sounding real good.
I love the people, when you talk to me, they're clearly in their bathroom. You can hear that echo.
Hear the echo, the water dripping in the background.
That's right.
Occasional.
That's not a flushing toilet. Don't worry. It's a waterfall. I'm outside.
We helped out a guy who just wants to help out the people renting his home and give them a break. It's so funny you got to think about that. But I think it's his wife is smart to say do a contract just in case, you know?
Yeah.
So, because like 3 months later, like, well, I haven't been paying rent for like 3 months. I thought it was like rent free forever, man.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. You
see that
money.
Let's see here. Let's get to our final question of the day, another email one. You can email your question anytime. They come to my email, and then I guarantee everyone who sends an email will definitely get your question off to the Law Frog. Jennifer writes, my former landlord trying to keep a deposit because of 2 dogs and a cat. My husband's on Social Security disability. Dogs are both trained and registered service animals. Also have a letter for a companion animal for my son. That was the cat. So they're keeping their deposit, but not only that, they're also charging lots of little things, light switch covers from when we moved out. So they basically told them the total bill was $5,219. So they're keeping their $1,200 deposit. And then she wants to know they have not tried to sue us for the rest of the money, about what, $4,000 or $4,019, but I'm afraid they will try to sue. I have not paid them anything, nor do I plan on paying them anything. What should I do at this point?
Well, Jennifer, if you're listening, so a couple of things. Go back to your original contract and find out what it says about animals. Is there a carve out? Does it specifically prohibit animals? There are certain things with service animals where you can get carve-outs for that because of anti-discrimination issues. I mean, just because somebody if they have a service animal, they have it because of usually some recognized and protected disability, and so it's difficult for a landlord to be able to discriminate against somebody like that. Now, that said, it could be that they brought in those animals after they'd signed their original lease. So that is, I think that's a strong defense that they might have. But, the bigger issue is, what is the reason that the landlord is giving beyond just that somebody had animals that might be allowable animals in the unit or the house?
Especially if there's like light switches noted and the reason they're charging more. And this happened, we were talking off the air, David. This happened to me when I was a younger man, and it scared me because they said, there's like $3,000 worth of cleanup and stuff we had to do, so we're going to keep your $1,000, and you should be lucky you don't have to pay us the other $2,000, so just shoo. And I was like, I guess we're getting away easy, okay.
Somebody got $2,000.
Yeah, and looking back, it's like, man, they jacked up the cost of it would scare you off, and that way you go, well, I guess I'd rather lose $1,200 than have to pay, another $3,000.
I know. And so there are some other things you can do to protect yourself, too. Ask for an actual specific accounting of every thing that they're claiming was broken, was damaged, and then the cost that they are assigning to that, and where are they coming up with that cost? They have an independent party coming in to assess what it would cost to replace light switch covers.
Okay.
And go and get your own assessment then, too.
That's funny you say that, because a citizen Mike called during the last song, and he said he ran into this years ago and learned that Colorado's, he thinks it was called a treble state, where the landlord must provide receipts showing all expenses for any kind of charges when it comes to this. So so if in fact he is trying to screw Jennifer over, she can probably save things with that. What if in fact, though, there was $5,219 worth of damages?
Well, she's probably on the hook for
it.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's one thing to have a service animal, and you might be allowed to have it. They clearly probably were not evicted for having the animal. So what did the animal do damage? And then if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, if it can be itemized, it can document it with receipts. The landlord has a much stronger claim for obviously withholding the return of the security deposit, and for possibly making a claim for those other recovery of the other money. But, these are, again, this goes back to something we talked about at the beginning of the segment. It's one thing to be able to make a claim, whether it's a landlord against a tenant or vice versa. It's another to be able to collect on that claim. And if you've got if you're the landlord and you've got $4,000 of hard damages that you can prove that somebody just trashed your unit, and we're not talking about Jennifer's case now, we're just talking in general. They came in and they just beat up the place, and almost deliberately. Yeah, I mean, you can go after them, but those are the kinds of people that probably don't have a lot of cash to cover you either.
Right.
If you get a recovery. So I mean, it's just, that's why landlords need to do a good job of making sure that they have some kind of accountability throughout the process to make sure the unit's in a good place. You know who you're renting to, and then obviously as a tenant, Jennifer might need to contact Steve because if he's
right, he's a much better landlord, Jennifer.
Yeah, put these together. You know what we should do, Ross? A matchmaking service for landlords and tenants.
That would be great.
Yeah,
rockers helping rockers live. We'll work on that next time through. So if verbiage was in the original contract, specifically saying no dogs, you could be in trouble, Jennifer. If they can't come up with the receipts, though, to prove there was $5,219 worth of damages, the advantage then kind of shifts to you. I'm kind of feeling
except if they are documented service dogs. I mean, that might be that might give her the cover to be able to say, yeah, we could have had dogs. So, but again, it goes back. It's one thing to say no dogs, but it's another to be able to prove how the dogs caused the damage.
Right.
Because if they're saying no dogs, they can evict you. If they have, then they weren't evicted. It looks like halfway through their lease. And again, eviction based on a service animal gets into really tricky territory.
Right.
So,
well, good luck, Jennifer. Kick some ass, take some names. You just got Law Frog. Thank you very much, Dave, for your time here today. Kick ass.
Thank you for listening to the Law Frog Radio Show with David McDivitt and Ross Ford on Kilo 94.3 FM, presented by McDivitt Law Firm.